Hi, Paul Hefty here. Second part of our philosophy series. We're going to talk about different types of leadership, dive into how to define this a little more specifically, and then how you can apply that to your own coaching portfolio and style. One of the things I like to do when we're talking about leadership, ethics, philosophies, styles, I want to make sure we understand the definition of the term that we're starting to dissect a little bit. So with leadership, the key point here is, by definition, you must have followers. So the leader has a team or a group of individuals that are followers that he's helping guide through a situation, an experience. And again, as it says here, try to provide them as a leader a vision to give them some clarity. Now, obviously, you're working on some common goals, and that's kind of the process, but your goal is to deliver some results. And we'll talk about this in more detail again, trying to deliver them an opportunity for success or a chance for excellence in the experience. So again, leadership is first knowing how to chart that course. That's why we're diving in and dissecting and developing a strong philosophy. And then that way you can give people some direction and give them a vision of where they're going, so that now they can all work toward a common goal. All right, first one is transformational leadership. This is one of the more common styles currently as our society and our cultures evolve. And what this consists of is the individual kind of transforms the power over to the followers in the organization. So you don't as much command and tell people what to do as a leader, but you help facilitate the process by identifying their needs and then creating a vision so that that group can execute the changes with the commitment of the members of the group in mind. So one of the things we've got to think about are leaders teachers, and are the followers just the students, or can they be both? I think what you want to do is examine, again, with your style, do you want to be the teacher that just directs people, or do you want to be able to have your followers and students have some input? I love this quote from Chuck Long, former Iowa quarterback, who interestingly was second in the Heisman Award voting, closest second place voting ever. But was a great coach after this too. And he always made this statement of a good start is a chance for a good finish. So just want to make sure, again, we're taking a lot of time to design a solid philosophy, because it's our foundation and chance for a good start, then to have a good finish. Another example here, followers. These are my two daughters, and it's neat. I'm not really the leader at all. They are, and I just follow them. And it's kind of neat. It's a great example of kind of reversing or transformational leadership. So one of the things when we're talking about leadership and with followers, it's real important that you just don't demand people accept you as a leader. You want them to want to be led by you. And some of the ways to do that is to build trust. We're going to talk about value terms here. But again, without that trust, there's really no way to develop a solid organization and a group. Second thing is you have to make sure you're true to your personality. I talked about in the earlier series of researching role models. It's great to find some traits that have been successful for them, but more importantly, you find some common traits or characteristics that fit your personality that you could apply. It's neat here to look at different quotes, but Vince Lombardi is a great one to look to, an old Green Bay Packer football coach who had tons of quotes. These can be powerful in how you describe your philosophy. So we said it's important that you develop that trust and respect as a leader so people want to be led by you. But how do you do that? And again, it comes down being consistent, making those sound decisions. I would argue that transparency and realism is very important. This is where admitting you make mistakes. You don't always have to be right as a leader. The ability to apologize is huge. and then just putting what is best for the team ahead of your personal agenda. When people in the organization seeing that happen, then there's a great chance for them to respect what you're doing and to trust you as you go forward. So again, just looking at definitions, if we look at trust from the dictionary, it's an assured reliance on the character, strength, or truth of someone or something. Basis of reliance, faith, or hope. And I love this last one, confident hope. That's what you're trying to provide for people in your organization when they trust you. So what do leaders do? This is what your goals are. First off is you're going to create a vision. So that's what we're doing with this whole portfolio, is you're designing not only your philosophy, but again, instead of writing a paper, you're trying to provide a vision for people in your organization. Obviously, then that helps you create a positive team culture, and we'll dive more into that as we go forward. As I mentioned, we want to make sure we're instilling these values, and a good example of that is inspiring trust. Obviously, one of the things you've got to do as a leader, though, is motivate people to strive towards a common goal if it's a team, and or motivate them towards excellence, giving their best. Another one you've got to do, though, is you simply have to confront and resolve conflict. It's kind of that parenting mode. It's part of your responsibility as a leader now. And then lastly, maybe the most important, is to have that consistent and effective communication. Another great role model is Vivian Stringer, women's basketball coach at Rutgers. She was at Iowa earlier, Hall of Famer, just a great proponent of women in sports and women in leadership. All right, when we talk about team culture, when we define that, I love this definition. It just serves as the social architecture that nurtures your team psyche. So again, we all hear the buzzword of culture being important, but the key here is trying to create a healthy team culture. And I love this when I do consulting, is your team culture never stays the same. It's a very fluid process. So when things are good, you can't just assume it's going to continue that way. And from year to year, if you had a great team culture, again, each year it's different and changes because your leadership changes. So when we're talking about team culture, it's about how your rewards are given, how you communicate, kind of your practice and procedures, your protocols. More importantly, though, we talked about confronting conflict. It's about acceptable reactions to the people in your organization, but also to winning and losing and so forth. Some components of team culture, again, is number one is team traditions. I give a great example of myself as a head coach. I had been at a previous institution where we were a top 20 team in the nation, very successful team culture. Took over a program that had not been very successful, and I just assumed I would use what I'd learned from the previous successful organization. And very quickly I found out there were different traditions, team traditions, that were important regardless of their previous success or failures. Again, there's basic operating procedures. It's different with every place you go. I've been at 7 different colleges, either teaching and or coaching, and each place has unique operating procedures that you have to be flexible to. Management information. Again, management is just the everyday process or movements of that organization, and there's different ways that information is managed with where you're at. Very important. Nature of the sport. Each sport's unique. Again, we'll talk about that in the portfolio at the beginning. You want to talk about what's unique about your sport, what's unique about you, and why you have this interest in it. Power, influence, and status structure of the team. Again, there's different power people that have different influences, and then your program or the status of your program is different within the organization you're part of. And then last, the leadership style of you as a coach. When we're looking at leadership, another thing is to do your homework and look at some different theories. It doesn't have to be directly in the sport or in the area you're currently working in. One of the ones I like to reach out to was outdoor education, and they talk about this as an inspiring a shared vision, challenging the process, That's that transformational style to your people in your organization, and enabling others to act, making sure you're modeling the way, and then the way they talk about trust, respect, and caring for people is encouraging the heart. So when we get to styles, when we talk about this, and we'll use this for my coaching course, these are the 3 common styles that we'll kind of use as a foundation. There's an autocratic or commander style. Again, this was quite common in the 70s, 80s when I was going through sport and getting into coaching, where it's that military mindset. You give an order and you follow that order, and then the people in the organization are supposed to follow that order. Second one is that participative or democratic cooperative. This is that transformational style where the leader acts more as a guide and has the team and the people in the organization can have a big influence, a big say in what's going on. And then last is this submissive or laissez-faire style. Again, there's a great place for this where the leader really makes no decisions, makes very few decisions, is great in a recreational setting. And actually we'll talk about it's kind of a progression you can get to with any style at any level. One thing to think of is the new wave or hybrid coach, where again you're going to use all 3 of those styles at different times, and we'll call that situational leadership. Again, the idea is everyone becomes a leader because everyone has power. I would argue, as you research Pat Summitt, she's a great example of that throughout her career. Again, she demanded very much, but she enables and empowers everybody to be part of the process. So let's finish up here with a coaching style clinic and just do a quick brainstorming and jot these down because you'll use these. All these workshops are always going to be part of future assessments. So just list some of the strengths and weaknesses of each of the coaching styles. We talked about the 3, the commander, the democratic or transformational style number 2, and then that laissez-faire or submissive style number 3. List what you can learn from each, because there's a place for all of them, and then write your definition of leadership at the end. You'll use this for your philosophy assignment and as you get into your coaching role model sections. Thanks.